So there's a lot of talk of what the post-Secret Wars MCU will look like, especially in regards to the X-Men. Marvel Studios' first ever crack at an in-house X-Men film will be one of their first films of the MCU's next saga, a saga that will likely be called the Mutant Saga. And that is very exciting because the X-Men stories are arguably the richest character-driven stories that Marvel Comics has ever published. And the found family, coming of age nature of those stories make for not only great movies, but great episodic style movies. I cannot wait to see a story that will span a decade plus of storytelling like that of the Infinity Saga. And the key, I think, to recapturing the magic of that Infinity Saga is to get the characters right. Do them justice and tell great character driven stories. Tony, Steve, Natasha, Clint, Thor, Bruce, Loki, Sam, Bucky, and others who encompassed that first saga, they were the found family aspect of that saga that made audiences so invested. And that's unfortunately something that the multiverse saga it's been missing until Thunderbolts, that is, arguably the multiverse saga's best movie yet. And again, it really dove into the importance of characters, and I'm sorry to say it again, but found family. And Thunderbolt's director, Jake Schreier, he is confirmed to be the director of the MCU's X-Men. So, what does this mean as far as casting? Which characters are we going to see in the new lineup, Villains 2, and who will play them? Well, we know that Avengers Doomsday will be featuring the return of the OG X-Men cast from those early 2000s Fox X-Men movies. So far, we've got Patrick Stewart's Professor X, Ian McKellen's Magneto, Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, James Marsden's Cyclops, Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler, and Kelsey Grammer's Beast. Oh, and even Channing Tatum's Gambit, who, yes, was awesome in Deadpool and Wolverine. And there are probably many, many more to come, like Halle Berry's Storm. And I can promise you, without a shadow of a doubt, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will be there too. So, if you're bringing back all of these OGs in Doomsday, does that then mean that we can expect to see them continue on after Avengers Secret Wars in that rebooted, like semi rebooted reality? Yes and no. Some of these original X-Men characters will continue in the new MCU in the Mutant Saga, but many of them will not. So let's run down who's staying and who's going post Secret Wars, and I'll explain how the MCU reboot in Secret Wars is going to make all of this happen. So Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, they're both in their 80s, knocking on 90. I think we can safely assume that Doomsday and probably Secret Wars will be the last time that we see them as these characters. And I mean, bravo to what will be a 3 decade spanning career as these two iconic characters. But yes, we will see, I think, two new actors as Professor X and Magneto. Or will we? Should I perhaps not say new? While I'm pretty confident in saying that, yeah, Stewart and McKellen, they'll be done. I do think the perfect casting for the new MCU versions would be the two guys who've already played them before, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender. They were brilliant in these roles. They're both in their late 40s, the perfect ages for a fresh start with the X-Men, but not a full-on retelling of their origin story. They also bring a sense of familiarity and a connection to that old era of the X-Men and Stewart and McKellen's versions of the characters as well. We could also then view films like X-Men First Class and the others as vague histories that aren't necessarily canon, but they can still work as vague histories that give us the general understanding of who these characters are. And what I mean when I say vague history is we know we're going to get that in universe semi reboot in Avengers Secret Wars, right? Just like in the Secret Wars comics, where reality and the universe itself is rewritten. And Kevin Feige, he's been clear that this will allow for some of their characters to remain the same as far as casting, but this will also give them an in universe rewriting of reality excuse that they can use as an opportunity to reset and recast some key characters while simultaneously keeping a piece of the past and everything that they've built. It really is a smart way to do it, and it's kind of what James Gunn has also done with the DCU. Yes, it's a brand new universe, and he's starting something new, but he's not just throwing away everything that came before, like his great Peacemaker show, the Suicide Squad, other, Blue Beetle, and things that he liked from the previous DCEU. He's not shackling himself to this, oh, well, I can't include any of that. I have to recast. No, he's not abiding by any like arbitrary rule. And I think the same will be true for the MCU. I think McAvoy and Fassbender would most importantly be phenomenal as these characters. We have evidence of that fact, but they would also be a great example of pieces of that old era of Marvel remaining in this new era, but they would also be great examples of having pieces of that old era of Marvel remaining in this new era that is simultaneously just beginning. Now, as far as the team of X-Men go, rumor has it they are looking to go young, and I completely agree that that's the direction they should go. I think you definitely cast a brand new Cyclops, Jean Grey, Rogue, Nightcrawler, Storm, Iceman, Angel, etc. Now, some names that come to mind for me are Jacob Tremblay as Cyclops. I like Margaret Qualley as Rogue. I think Sophia Lillis would be a great Jean Grey. I know that's just me picking a redhead, but seriously, I do think that she would be a great Jean Grey. She's awesome in those It movies. And the most important thing, I think, is that they put together a team that really work well together in terms of actor chemistry. So I hope that they take their time and build the perfect cast, one that can play these characters for the next, I don't know, 15, 20 years. Now, I did kind of brush over when talking about Magneto and Professor X. I brushed over Hank McCoy, Beast. And, he's supposed to be a peer of Charles and Magneto. So you could maybe have Nicholas Holt reprise the role. Granted, he is busy playing Lex Luthor right now. So I think what they will probably do and probably should do is just keep the character, the big CG version that we saw in the Marvels, and you could have Kelsey Grammer continue to voice the character. Why not? So then you have Wolverine, and I think it would be criminal to recast Wolverine if, big if Hugh Jackman is still interested in playing the character for a while. If he has changed his mind and he wants to play Wolverine more after Secret Wars, same with Downey as Doom. If Downey wants to stick around, you let Downey stick around. If Jackman wants to stick around, you let Jackman stick around. Let him keep doing it. And I have a few reasons as to why I think that they need to do that. And they aren't just because I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, though I totally do. I think if you keep Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, what you do is you keep him relatively separate from those mainline X-Men films. For too long, the X-Men films have leaned way too heavily on the character of Wolverine. I think the X-Men would thrive by giving some limelight to their other great characters that aren't called Wolverine. So by keeping Jackman on, you can do more films with like him and Deadpool and have Wolverine perhaps even lead his own film, do Old Man Logan, and keep them in their own like little pocket of the MCU where they can do fun R-rated, maybe X-Force style movies. And keeping Hugh Jackman can make it to where Wolverine can be more of a peer to, Professor X and Hank and Magneto rather than just a student. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a Wolverine on this X-Men team. I think we totally still have a Wolverine in this new lineup, but her name is X-23. And while her dad is off going on missions with Deadpool and saving baby Hulks, he encourages his daughter to attend Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. And Dafne Keen is the perfect age to fit right in with this new young cast of X-Men characters. She is so good as Laura, aka X-23. We saw her come back in Deadpool and Wolverine, and I want to get to see her explore that character and play the role for years to come. Then we can still have the Hugh Jackman Wolverine show up from time to time in those X-Men movies to check in on or join the team in like their big culmination Avengers style films where they go up against Apocalypse. And yeah, I do think that they're going to do Age of Apocalypse for the Mutant Saga, but like 10 years down the road, like for their version of what will be Infinity War. But hey, those are just my thoughts. I think that you keep Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I think you keep McAvoy and Fassbender. You could even keep Kelsey Grammer as those characters. But as for the rest, I think it's time to do a recast. You bring in a young new set of characters. But Those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. Thanks so much for the question. Hey everybody, Colton here, and this is the Mailbag Style Show where I take your questions about Marvel, Star Wars, DC, movies and streaming in general. Whatever you want to ask, send it in at the email address askcoltonnow@gmail.com, link in the description below, and maybe you'll see your question featured right here on the show.